Hey, it's your buddy Bob, another episode of Rock and Roll Travelogue, and today we're in the home of the New York Yankees. I must say it's one of my least favorite of all the professional sports teams. As a matter of fact, let's just be honest, I don't like them at all. But we're in the Bronx. It's another borough of New York City, and we continue our quest of finding the great pop and rock acts of the 1950s to 1990s on Rock and Roll Travelogue. So let's go and make a stop as we head into the Bronx, over the river and a couple of bridges and lots of tolls. Our first stop is in the Bronx at East 187th and Belmont. Now, this is the street where two of the Belmonts, the doo-wop group of the late 1950s, lived, and that's how they got the name of the group, the Belmonts. And later they met a kid from nearby named Dion DiMucci. They met him at a pool hall at 183rd and Crotona. The pool hall no longer exists. Dion lived on 183rd between Crotona and Prospect. So they all got together as Dion and the Belmonts in 1957. Teenager in Love is their most remembered song. So not long after that, Dion left to go solo, and he had signature hits with Run Around Sue, which was a number one, and a song right after that called The Wanderer, had many more in the 60s as well. And his songs featured what was known then as the frantic sax. Well, Dion went to a place in Iowa as he was pursuing his musical passion. And he was on the Winter Caravan with Buddy Holly and others. And after a show in Cedar Lake, Iowa one night, we all know what happened later that night as the plane crashed, carrying Buddy Holly, Richie Valens, and Big Bopper to the next show in Minnesota. It crashed, killing all on board in Mason City, Iowa. This was the day the music died, as Don McLean sang in 1972 in his song American Pie. Well, for Dion, thankfully he was not on the airplane, but it was a rather traumatic 1960s for him. You can imagine, Survivor's Guild and all, had a few hits after. But then he went several years in the 60s before he would have another hit. And in 1968, he had a song called Abraham, Martin, and John, about four Americans who were assassinated: Abraham Lincoln, President John Kennedy and his brother Bobby, and Martin Luther King. Now, the latter two were shot to death earlier in the year 1968 before Dion's song charted. Dion would later veer into Christian music. Eventually, he would come back to pop. This is his old parish, which has been a big part of his life, at 627 East 187th Street in the Bronx, which, by the way, is the home of Fordham University, which is a very well-known Jesuit school that Dion champions. And Dion is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Well, one more stop in the Bronx before we head over to Long Island. Here's the apartment where the great Clyde McPhatter died at 1165 East 229th. He died at a very young age, 39, in 1972. He started with Billy Ward and the Dominoes, as did Jackie Wilson, who we talked about when we were in Detroit. Clyde then founded the Drifters before going solo. Lover Please and A Lover's Question are forever linked to him. Clyde McPhatter is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Before we head out to Long Island, I've got to mention Mary J. Blige, who was born in the Bronx and later lived in Yonkers, just north of the Bronx. Her first album, What's the 411, got her started in 1992. The album, produced by Sean Puff Daddy Combs, by the way, featured Real Love and You Remind Me, which would become hit singles for the soon-to-be queen of hip-hop soul. Her biggest hit came in 1996, Not Gonna Cry. Mary J. Blige is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. All right, out to Long Island. It's a little less crowded. Long Island, New York, we go to Hicksville, New York, which is a part of Oyster Bay. And here's a home of a young Billy Joel. Billy has spent much of his life around Oyster Bay. Here's the motorcycle gallery of his called 20th Century Cycles on Audrey Avenue in Oyster Bay. And just down the street, next to the historic Oyster Bay Railroad Depot, is Billy Joel Way. Gonna head out to 149 Cove Neck Road to see one of Billy's early homes where he lived with his first wife, Elizabeth. Now, this is the glass house, which was depicted in the 1980 album Glass Houses. Unfortunately, we couldn't get to see the home as it is not acceptable to the public. Here are some nearby pictures of the Cove Neck area. Speaking of wife Elizabeth, she's always a woman to me, was written in reference to her. Billy Joel is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. On the way out to Cove Neck, I came across this historic site called Sagamore Hill. It's the home of the 28th President of the United States, Theodore Roosevelt. Theodore Roosevelt lived here, and there was a picture of him at the Oyster Bay Depot, next to Billy Joel's cycle shop, by the way, sitting by himself just a few months before he would become president. Well, a few short minutes from here, in 1990, Avianca Flight 52 crashed on approach to Kennedy Airport. They ran out of fuel, and they crashed in the yard of the parents of tennis great John McEnroe. 73 of the 158 passengers and crew were killed in that crash. Without the help of the locals, possibly many more would have died. Before we make our last stop on Long Island, I want to highlight another big artist of the 80s and 90s, Debbie Gibson, born in Brooklyn but spent her youth in Merrick, New York, on the South Shore of Long Island. At age 17, she wrote and performed her first number one, Foolish Beat, and the ballad Lost in Your Eyes shortly after. What an accomplishment for such a young lady. One more stop on Long Island. Got to go to Huntington, New York, where Mariah Carey was born. Look how old this town is. It was founded a long time ago. Mariah Carey was born here. She would become one of the top-selling artists of the 1990s with her incredible vocal range. Her first 5 songs all went to number 1, Vision of Love, Emotions, Dream Lover, Hero, and All I Want for Christmas Is You. This song and others like it would earn her the moniker of the Queen of Christmas. In all, 19 number 1 songs for Mariah Carey. For reference, the Beatles had 20. Michael Jackson has 13. Mariah Carey went to high school here, Harborsfield High School in Green Lawn, New York. It's not far from Huntington. She was already doing work with other artists while still in high school. Although nominated in 2025 for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, she was not inducted. Maybe another time. A final thought about Mariah Carey. In our previous Rock and Roll Travelogue episode, we were in Manhattan at the Better Days Club, where C+C Music Factory was formed. When one of the members, David Cole, died, the group disbanded. And that's when Mariah Carey and Boyz II Men wrote a song for Cole, who previously worked extensively for Mariah Carey. The song was called One Sweet Day. It was a number 1 song for multiple weeks in 1996. Well, before we go, let's review the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductees that we talked about today. Dion, Clyde McPhatter, Billy Joel, and Mary J. Blige. Time for me to bounce. Another Rock and Roll Travelogue next time. This is your buddy Bob saying until then, good heart and stout luck.
You are watching WCTV, Wadsworth Community Television.